Most tenants have the misconception that if rent is due on the 1st of the month, they can pay it as late as the 6th or 7th day of the month without financial penalty. The rent due date will always be noted in your lease, and it's your responsibility to know the terms under which you can make a late rent payment if the lease allows you to do so. Rent grace period. Before we jump into the consequences of paying rent late, it is beneficial to talk about the rent grace period. A rent grace period is a period of time during which a tenant can pay their rent after the original due date without being subject to rent late fees. Although some states require landlords and property managers to extend this offer to tenants, not all states do. The standard grace period is 2 to 4 days from the date rent is due. How late is late? The rental agreement outlines when rent is due and the methods by which the tenant can make rent payments. Rent is typically due on the first day of each month. This date may fluctuate if the first falls on a weekend or on a bank holiday. In that case, the payment may be due on the following workday. Some landlords make rent due a month from the date the tenant moved in. Others may even ask for rent on a weekly or bi-monthly basis. When it comes to rent payments, the landlord calls the shots. But there's nothing wrong with negotiating the due date if necessary, especially if it will help you pay the rent on time. What expect if you pay late rent payment? You might face some hefty consequences if you fail to pay rent on time. You'll probably receive a reminder call or two or email from your landlord at first that reminds you that rent is due. If you still haven't paid, the landlord will likely implement the late fee documented in your rental agreement. The next thing you can expect is an eviction notice. The notice will instruct you to pay the rent within a certain number of days or face eviction proceedings. What to do if you can't pay your rent on time? You have options if you're unable to pay your rent on time. Consider setting up your account to have your rent payment automatically deducted on or before the day rent is due so you don't have to remember the date. If your payday falls after the date rent is due or you're experiencing financial challenges, talk with the landlord about possibly changing the due date or making other payment arrangements that will help you make on-time payments.